All right, so now we are at the point where we are going to restring this Evertune equipped guitar. So once you take all of the strings off of your guitar that has an Evertune, all of the individual saddles are just going to be back like this, kind of on an angle, and that means you're kind of ready to go. If your saddle is not back like this when you have zero tension on the guitar or the strings are off, you're probably going to have some bigger issues than we are going to be covering in this video. So you might have to bring your guitar into a tech if something is going on with your saddles and they are not at this stage right here when you have no string tension on the guitar. So once you're at this stage right here, you can go ahead and simply just re-string your guitar. The next thing you want to do is actually tune your guitar to the tuning that you want to have your guitar being played in. And you're going to do that using the tuners at the headstock and tuning the guitar as you would any sort of traditional guitar. Now, once you are tuning the guitar up to the desired pitch, you're going to notice every string saddle is going to be moving. And again, this is all going to depend on which zone you want your actual strings to be in. This is totally normal to see when you are tuning up your guitar for the first time with an Evertune. So to get the string on the Evertune where it changes pitch when you bend it, essentially what you want to do, you just keep tuning that string using like the traditional tuner at the top of the headstock. You can hear the note just went sharp. You tune it up a little bit and then you back it down. And there we go. So now just to show you all a quick example of how you can set up your Evertune guitar here. Now this is going to be a pretty quick overview. I have this low string down here. This is the low A string. You can see that the low string saddle here is pretty straight here. It might be on a bit of an angle, but essentially, I'm not sure how well that's going to pick up on camera, but as I'm bending the note, the pitch is actually changing. Now, for this next string here, the A string is actually tuned to an E. You could see, it might be hard to see on camera, the actual saddle is sitting on an angle here. Now, there's a bit of note change. Now, if I actually dial this in much more accurately, the note is not going to change pitch at all. But as the owner wants it, he wants this guitar to actually be able to change the pitch when I'm bending the string. So if you are getting confused on why the pitch is not changing when you are tuning up your Evertune guitar, don't worry about it. It is not an issue because the actual saddle has to come up if you wanted to get into the zone where the note will actually change pitch when you bend the string. And no, you will not break your guitar string. It is totally normal, and that's the design of the Evertune. Just make sure you're actually listening with your ear, or even if you have a tuner plugged in, make sure you know what note you want to tune to. So this is a D sharp, and that's a little bit too high, and I want this string to be actually tuned to D. And another really cool thing is that essentially you don't really have to stretch your strings with an Evertune, since the inherent design behind an Evertune is that the strings are never going to go out of tune. So essentially you can kind of skip the whole string stretching process, which is a little bit of a sweet time saver as well, especially if you need to change your strings in a pinch and make sure they are in tune for that set that you need to play later that day. All right, so next up here, when you have the strings pretty well close to the pitch that you want your guitar to be tuned to, what you want to do is actually do the more finer adjustments on the Evertune. There's going to be 3 adjustment points here. The first one is actually back here in that saddle here, right behind where the string kind of feeds through. That is where you're going to be doing the actual majority of your tuning with the Evertune. You're not going to be using the tuners at the top of the headstock. That is just to lock your guitar into the desired zone that you want the guitar to be in, and obviously when you are changing strings on the Evertune. If you're going to be adjusting the tuners at the top of the headstock of the guitar, you're then going to knock the Evertune out of either zone 2 or 3, and then you're going to cause potential problems for yourself down the road. The next contact point on the Evertune is going to be right here where the screwdriver is pointing. This is how you adjust the string height of every individual string on the Evertune. So make sure you detune the guitar entirely to make those adjustments to adjust the string height. Last but not least, we have the intonation access screws back here, and that's going to adjust the intonation to make sure your guitar is in tune across all of the frets on the guitar. All right, so at this point, essentially, the guitar is more or less in tune, or at least it's pretty close to the tuning that I want this guitar to be in. So now, kind of like a Floyd Rose, this is kind of like your fine-tuning adjustment pieces down here. This is where you are going to do the majority of your tuning. So I'm going to pluck this note here. Obviously you can't see the tuner because it's not on screen right now, but the note is a little bit sharp. So since the note is sharp, I'm then going to turn the Allen wrench in the adjustment piece here to the left to then loosen that adjustment piece here, which then lowers the pitch of the guitar. I also like to do the attack tuning method, so essentially I'm going to pick the note and then tune it, because you actually want to tune the note that is being played and not the actual decay or the sustain of that note. So if the note is sharp, you just turn the Allen wrench to the left, and if the note is a little bit too flat, turn the Allen wrench to the right to then increase the pitch, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Not as bad as some people might think the Evertune is for actually tuning the guitar. So as you can see here, the action on this guitar is a little all over the place here, depending on the individual strings here. So I'm just going to set this up real quick and show you a couple highlights on screen right now of how you properly adjust the action on your Evertune guitar. So make sure you adjust the action on your Evertune guitar, or any guitar essentially without any sort of string tension on it, and then you're going to use this back screw right here where my finger is to adjust the action on every string on the Evertune guitar. And last but not least, but arguably one of the most important parts of a good setup is actually having your guitar fully intonated. And you're going to adjust the intonation on the Evertune pretty well the same way as you would for any other traditional guitar here. So simply using the tuner here, I'm going to pluck the open note that is in tune. I'm going to pluck the 12th fret. So now in this case, the note on the tuner, when I'm playing it at the 12th fret, is actually a little bit flat. So what that means is that the saddle of the guitar actually has to move towards the fingerboard on the guitar. If the note that I was playing at the 12th fret is too sharp, what I want to do is actually take the saddle and move it backwards. And you're simply just going to do that by turning the Allen wrench either left or right. A little bit of lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and then you do that for every string on the guitar, and then you are fully done setting up your guitar with an Evertune.